Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam shehakol neh b'dbareh. Chaim v'livracha, to life and for blessings. Yeah. If you will deal with someone who is observing Christianity, and on Sunday you find them coming out of their place of worship, and you ask them, "Are you religious?" You say, "But of course." No, just came out from prayers. If you go on Friday and ask someone that's Muslim coming out of a mosque, "Are you religious?" Of course, very religious. As a matter of fact, 6 times a day I pray.
5 times.
5 times. Okay, 5 times. Thank you.
Because they replicated on Yom Kippur. Yeah.
If you go and ask a Jew on Yom Kippur who's in synagogue, "Are you religious?" Say, "Me? Religious?" Then you'll ask that Jew, "Well, do you at least do you keep kosher?" Kosher, that's very outdated. Back in the day, they needed to worry about trichinosis, and now that we have refrigeration, we don't have to worry about it. We don't need to worry about kosher. So you ask that Jew, "Well, you at least observe Shabbos. Well, Shabbos is shopping day. Kosher? No, I mean, not sorry. Do you at least well, it's Yom Kippur." So, I'll tell you the truth. I can't make it through the whole day fasting. So you at least believe in God. After all, you're here in synagogues. So, well, I have troubles. After all, there was a Holocaust. So you'll tell that Jew, "You're not Jewish. You don't even observe the mitzvahs. You don't even have questions about belief in God. So you're not Jewish." What will that Jew do? First thing they'll do is slap you across the face and tell you, "I'm Jewish." And not only do they tell you that they're Jewish, but they're as Jewish as you are. And you may be extremely observant, as Jewish as you are. Now, how does that make sense? You don't believe, you don't observe. In what way are you Jewish? Is that person right? They don't seem to be such a good Jew if they're not fulfilling the mitzvahs and even questioning their belief. If it was in any other faith or religion, they would not be an adherent of that faith or that religion, because they don't believe. You don't believe, well, you're going to go to hell. You're not an adherent, you're an infidel. And we'll make hell here on earth. We won't wait for you to go to hell. Bring it to you now. So every other faith, every other religion, that is so. But actually for being Jewish, it is not as by the others. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zurich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We conclude today, chapter 18. We begin a new path of understanding what we call the Ava Mesuteres, the hidden love. It's in the soul that is an inheritance to us by the virtue of our patriarchs, who were such holy people that every limb of their body was a mere reflection of the divine. No whim, no desire of their own, only the fulfillment of the divine purpose. So their descendants, Jewish people, merit to have this soul. What is the source of this soul? Where does it come from in the divine order of things? Everything is divine, right? Everything is from the divine order. What is unique about this soul, where that it comes from? So it comes from Chachma, Chachma of the divine. There are 10 divine attributes. The first is Chachma. We translate it as wisdom, but let's not translate it as that because doesn't describe the idea. It's the initial flash in our minds of intellect, that nebulous seminal glimmer of an idea. It's the source of intelligence and comprehension that then leads it into Bina, but it's not intelligence and comprehension itself. It's beyond it, right? And that's what the word chokhmah is made up of, two words, koyachma, the power of what? It's sort of like, ooh, what? Wow, what? What is like a self-effacement of something that's greater than you? Like, oh, what was that? Meaning you didn't get it. It was beyond. You saw something, but you didn't grab onto it, didn't hold on to it. You didn't comprehend it. That's why you ask what. So it's the power of what? And power, it means potential. It's a potentiality. So it's a potentiality of intelligence, but itself is beyond intelligence. Right? That's why it's like a seed. Like a seed of a tree is the potential of an entire tree. So it's the source of intelligence, but yet beyond it. The power of Ma, of the unknown. The power of the unknown. What is it? Because it's the power of the unknown, so therefore becomes a vessel, a container for that which is unknown. And what is unknown? Well, God is unknown. He's beyond. He's Ein Sof. He's without limit, right? He's ultimately unknowable. So it is the vehicle of the infinite of God to contain it. This is the source of the Jewish soul. By the way, the source of the non-Jewish soul is from Bina, the next level in the divine. What that means, well, I'm going to deal with now, perhaps later.
The Jewish soul comes from
Chachma, right? What does that mean? What's the result of the fact that the Jewish soul comes from Chachma? It means then, as a result of that, no matter who the individual is, as a Jew, has a Jewish soul, illiterate people, and they have no knowledge of God's greatness, but they believe in God. Because faith, after all, is something beyond our grasp. So Chachma represents that the capacity for faith, that which is beyond us, we are connected to. And that's what it says in Mishlei, the fool believes everything, but the clever man understands. What does that mean? What does that mean in this respect? Well, before God, who are we? We're fools. That's why we believe, right? That's why we believe. Because we recognize that before God, we are fools, and therefore we can't grasp him. I am foolish and ignorant. I am a beast before you, and I'm yet constantly with you. In other words, because I approach you in this so-called foolish way, right? In this so-called foolish way, meaning I approach you with faith because you're beyond, and that's the power of the chokhmah of the soul that allows me to then connect to you on that level. That's why I'm constantly with you, because I approach you that way. Wow. So what's the consequence of this? What does that mean? Consequence of this is something interesting that is unique to the Jewish people. And that is, as a rule, not as a rule means there's always, breaking the rule. It's not always the case, but as a rule, right? On the most worthless and sinners among the Jewish people sacrifice their lives for the sanctity of God's name, and even suffer harsh torture rather than deny God's unity. Even if they're boors and illiterate, ignorant of God's greatness, right? So they didn't live for God, but they're ready to give up their lives. Even someone who does have knowledge, right, and an awareness of God, and they are connected in the service of God, yet when it comes to a matter of a faith, of sacrificing your life for that, for your faith, and not accepting some other faith. So even the person who lives for God and has an awareness of God, yet they don't delve into that, and they sacrifice not because they contemplated, oh, this is a good deal, right? I'm going to, sacrifice my life. Oh, and the world and the afterlife. Oh, it's going to be good for me. Jews don't do that. Rather, they're prepared to sacrifice their lives without any knowledge or reflection, but as if it were absolutely impossible for them to renounce their connection to God, the oneness of God, without any reason, rational argument whatsoever. It's no argument that brings them to that conclusion. They don't weigh the pros and cons. Is it, worthwhile? Is it not worthwhile? Am I going to have a better, in the world to come, in the afterlife? I'll have it better because I gave up my life rather than accepting some other foreign, religion that's foreign to me, right? No, this is good for everybody to listen in, Ben, for everybody, right? Now, why is it that you do it without any reason or rational argument? You're ready to martyr, give up your life, not intellectually motivated because it's beneficial for you? No, you do it not based on that. So why? Why would you do that? Because as we said, the oneness of God illuminates and animates the entire soul of the person, because the soul, the Jewish soul, comes from the Chachma. And the Chachma is beyond intelligence. Yes, it's a source of intelligence, but it's beyond intelligence. And that clothes the person, and therefore they're able to give themselves over, even that which is not graspable and is beyond. The light of the Ein Sof is what defines the Jewish soul, because it comes by way of Chachma, as Chachma is the vessel, the container for it, and therefore prepared to give up your life. Again, this is very important, and this is what's unique. Have non-Jewish people given up their lives for their faith? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the Jewish people, Israel, is fighting other people right now. Well, ceasefire today, but they're fighting terrorists who are ready to die for what they believe in. So isn't that the same thing? Not at all. They're ready to do it because it makes sense to them. It fits in with their, they're a cult of death. They're a faith of death. They're a religion of death, where in the hereafter, you're going to get more than here. So are you giving up anything if you had an old jalopy of a car and now you trade it in? And look, I got a Mercedes, or I got a Range Rover, or I got a BMW, or I got a Rolls Royce. Oh, look, I killed so many people. I'm getting a Rolls Royce. Is that sacrifice? That's not sacrifice. You gave up something for something more. That's not called sacrifice. That's calculation. So many people gave up their lives because they lived for it, so they're going to die for it. Here, and what we're dealing with today is a cult of life. I say cult, not just a culture, right? Because you're getting more. As I've said before, they made a mistake. They're getting 72 Virginians, getting George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, But in their minds, they're getting, right? So of course, it's worth it. And I get more for every innocent life that I can kill. That's a calculation. And likewise in Christianity is the same thing. Crusades, ready to fight martyrdom, because you believe in it so strongly, so you're going to die for it. Plus the afterlife, true believer. Here we see throughout history Jews who, you always had Jews that were believers and those that were not, like today, or those that were committed and those are not committed, fully at least. And yet, when it came to question martyrdom, right? Jews gave up their lives, not because it made sense to do it, because the soul emerged. The soul might have been hidden completely, but now it emerged. Emerged in such a manner that this leaves no alternative, but I can't forsake. I can't forsake my faith. I can't forsake my people. I can't forsake my religion. I can't forsake my God. That's a very unique idea. A very unique idea. And doing it, the key over here is, because of Chachma, you're doing it because that's the godly part in you that is compelling you. It's almost like with no choice. In intelligence, you have a choice, right? Beyond intelligence, when you touch that, it's almost like, right? Because then it comes to the fore. That's why also, that it's the source of faith that, that Jew in synagogue on Yom Kippur who says, I'm as Jewish as you, is correct. And will slap you across the face in indignation? Absolutely. Because it's the Jewish soul that defines the Jew. And that Jewish soul is equal, right, from the highest level to the lowest level of a functioning soul. Uh, doesn't matter. It has the chachma of the divine, that the chachma, koyachma, the power of nullity, the power of the unknown, meaning the unknown, that's the infinite of God, the Ein Sof, the or Ein Sof of Hashem. And that's what defines us. Before, yeah, so Ben, by all means, listen in. What, 72, because that's what it says in Islam. I don't know. I don't know the significance. Yeah, I don't think that that's where they're coming from.
But the Muslims are a perversion of chesed. Perversion of chesed.
Right.
When you want to give to people who don't want that abuse, sexual abuse is a form of chesed that's perverted.
Right. Perversion, right. Actually, it's interesting. Ishmael is the, right, who's their predecessor, is the perversion of chesed. Ishmael
Exactly.
Ishmael is the perversion of, right? Avram is the embodiment of divine kindness. His son Ishmael, who Yatzimimenu, who uh, fell from the path, is the perversion of divine kindness and um, is self-directed, self-fulfilling kindness, right? Rather than divine kindness, it's self-fulfilling kindness. Right? So just briefly, non-Jewish soul comes from Bina, from in the divine order of things. Bina is understanding, and which is the idea that you have something that you grasp. Bina is the building blocks of understanding, of having knowledge, grasping. So it is, you have to, when you engage, let's say you got a point that you're trying to flesh out and you're working it through. So you gotta wrap your mind around it. You gotta put yourself into it, right? Put yourself into it. And that's where and it comes from Bina, where therefore there's a something there that now has to add to it, just like Bina's building blocks. So, you're starting with a block of understanding and you're building to create, an edifice. That's what Bina is. Building blocks of understanding, of knowledge, right? Growing and so on. It's the idea of self-fulfillment. So it creates then the human condition that we want to build. We want to build our lives. We want to build ourselves. And you build yourself, with an awareness, with, developing your character quality, right? That's all created in the image of God. But it's starting with me, as there is me there to build. And I am the builder of my life, which is very good and wonderful. But it's starting with the Mitzias, and therefore starting with that I am. And I am, therefore, is to build that I become a greater, and a greater good person, not a I'm not talking about in any bad way. I'm talking about in a healthy, positive way. Which is wonderful to build yourself a, being, more divinely aligned, fulfilling the purpose of why God created you, an awareness of God in your day, in your life. That's wonderful. But it's predicated on that I am, and therefore I need to understand. Bina means, right, is I got to get it. I got to understand it. I got to wrap my mind around it. So it's predicated on understanding. And therefore, you will make the pros and cons. When it comes to a question of faith and giving up your life, you're going to tally the pros and cons. And the pros and cons then will lead you to how you will actually, what you will do. Will you, is it worth it to give up your life or not? As we explained from the Jewish perspective, it's not a tally at all because it's based on Chachma. Chachma is beyond intelligence. So it's not an intelligent thing. It's the nature of the soul, which we're going to learn more about it in the nature of this love of the soul. But it's the source of the soul is such that, right? It's no calculation. Right? The non-Jewish soul, there will be a calculation, right? Because their soul is based on Bina. Bina means understanding, means getting it, grasping. So you got to grasp the value. That's very fascinating. Jennifer, wasn't a Jewish captive woman named Safiya forcibly married to a prophet Muhammad? I mean, it's a significant because look at Hamas and what they are doing to our Jewish women now. Yeah. So I'm not so familiar, Jennifer, Sheva, not so familiar, so I don't know how to answer that. But yeah, there's definitely correlations, that's for sure. Yes, Ishmael did tshuva at the end of his life, Peter. That's correct. That is correct.
Actually, it was
But he did tshuva doesn't make him he did tshuva in his deeds for his his deeds. When we're speaking about the quality of the soul, he wasn't a righteous person like his father Abraham, who was the embodiment and the reflection of divine kindness. So he wasn't that even after he did tshuva, but it's correct. He did repent. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Yitzhak was influential in making the make tshuva.
Yeah, but again, that's irrelevant to the point here. It's irrelevant to the point, right? Okay, folks, amazing. We're going to continue in our conversation and our learning and learn more. So we've answered two things: the root source of the soul, Chachma, and how it's an inheritance from the patriarchs. And we will continue with understanding the nature of this, the love of this, of the soul, of the Ava Mesoteres, the hidden love. It's a different kind of love.